Hello, my name is RP, and this is my project for CS 123. So for my project, I created a dog routine tracker. The purpose of this program is to help dog owners keep track of important parts of their dog's daily routine. The program allows the user to log meals, potty breaks, naps, vaccinations, and veterinary appointments. I would say the main business objective for this program is organization. A dog owner may need to remember things like what time their dog ate, how much they ate, bathroom habits, sleep duration, etc. I think keeping all that information separately is a little unorganized, so this program allows the user to enter it all into one place. The program also keeps track of how many times each type of activity was logged, so it saves the information into a TXT file, and the user can view those records outside of the program as well. So I guess now I'll explain how the code works. My project is separated into two Python files. The first one contains the dog actions class and the methods that perform different actions in the program. The second file is the main program, which displays the menu and allows the user to choose what they want to do. So I think I'll start with the dog actions class. Of course, the first method here is going to be our constructor. Um, the constructor automatically runs when a new dog actions object is created. And inside the constructor, I created three main containers. The first one is self.records, which is an empty list. This list stores all of the records that the user enters. Each individual record is also stored as a smaller list, so this allows me to demonstrate a list within a list. Like for example, when a meal is logged, I create a smaller list containing label meal, the time, and the amount of food. So that's displayed here, and I'll get into that in detail a little bit later. The smaller list is then appended to self.records. And the second container in our constructor um, is self.potty types, which is a set. So I used a set because sets don't store duplicate values. So for example, if a user logs that the dog peed several times throughout the day, the set will only store pee once. So this gives the program a list of unique potty types that were entered. And our third container is record count, which is a dictionary. So the dictionary contains keys for meal, potty, nap, vaccine, and appointment, and each value begins at 0. So whenever one of those activities is successfully logged, the corresponding value in the dictionary increases by 1. So this lets the program keep a running total of each type of record. So next, let's get into the add meal method. So this method asks the user what time the dog ate and how many cups of food the dog ate. Meal record, which is a list containing meal, time, and the amount, and then I append that list to self records, and it increases the meal count in the dictionary by 1. And then we have add potty method. This one asks for the time and the potty type, and then I did use lower here on the potty type, so entries like P totally capitalized or partially capitalized are all stored in the same lowercase format. And then a potty record is created and appended to self.records. The potty type is also added to this set, so that is corresponding with that input. And then since it's a set, again, the duplicate potty types are automatically ignored. And then the potty count in the dictionary is increased by 1. And then next we have the nap method. So let's scroll down here. So this method asks what time the dog fell asleep and how many minutes the dog slept. And for the number of minutes, I used int because I want the input to be a whole number. And this is also where I demonstrated the try and accept statement. So if the user enters something such as letters instead of a whole number, Python would normally raise a value error. So instead of letting the program crash, the accept value error section displays a message, which is here. So it'll tell the user to enter nap time as a whole number. And then I also used an if statement to make sure that the nap duration is greater than 0. This else right here. And then if the number is valid, I create a nap record, same as the other methods, and then append it to the main records list and then increase that nap count. So that's where all of that happens. we can move on to the add vaccination method. So the vaccination method asks the user for vaccination date, type, and when the dog needs the vaccine again. And those values are stored in another smaller list and appended to self records, and then the count is increased again. The appointment method, this one also asks for date and the time, as well as the reason for the appointment. So it's going to create the record, add it to or append it to records list, and then increase the appointment count. So next is arguably the most important method here, because this method is actually going to create our txt file and save the records. So this method handles writing the information to the txt file, and basically I open the dog records.txt using W, which is write mode. So write mode creates the file if it doesn't already exist, and then if it does already exist, it replaces the old contents with the newest records. So then I use a for loop to go through every record stored in self.records, and for each record I check the first element of the mini list, so index 0, and the value at index 0 tells me what kind of record it is. For example, if record index 0 is meal, I know that index 1 contains the time and index 2 contains the amount. So I use an if and elif chain to format each type of record differently before writing it to the file, because each action kind of, even though they're similar, they need the different information. So this allows the txt file to display readable information instead of just displaying Python lists. It's a bit more easy on the eye, I'd say. And then after writing all of the individual records, I write a section called total logs, and then I use another for loop with dot items to go through the record count dictionary. And in that loop, activity represents the dictionary key, such as meal or nap, and then the count represents the value. So I write each activity and its total into the text file, and then I also created a potty type section. I use a for loop to go through the potty type set and then write each unique potty type into the file. And then after all the information is written, we close the file. And then the next method is going to be read records. So we read that file. So this opens dog records.txt using R, which is read mode. And in read mode, I don't think you can edit. I think it's just strictly reading whatever is saved into your txt file. So I use a for loop to read the file one line at a time, and then I use the dot strip function when printing each line, because each saved line already contains a new line character, and removing that new line prevents extra blank lines from appearing when the file is displayed in the console. And then we close our file, and then that's it for this file, and we can move on to our main one. So first I import the dog actions class from the other file. And then I also used here for like the title and introduction of the program, I used f-string formatting with the centered. We learned this, I believe, in chapter 8 of Zybooks. It's like a format specifier. So the upward arrow means that the text will be centered. And then the 70 represents the total width of the field, and I believe like obviously including the text and the white spaces. So you'll see kind of when I run the program that it's displayed centered, as well as these ones here too. So I thought that was a cool thing to add. Next, I create an object called tracker from the dog actions class, obviously. And then when dog actions runs, the constructor automatically runs and creates the records list, the potty set, and the dictionary for this object. And then I created this variable choice. Initially, I assign it as an empty string because we just need to initialize that before we use it for our while loop. So the menu uses this while loop with the condition that choice, as long as choice is not equal to 7, the menu will continue running. And then 7 here you can see is when the save records is called and the goodbye statement is printed. So the program ends when you typed 7. And I use a while loop because we don't know how many times the user will choose an option before deciding to quit. So the program will display the menu and receive the user's choice as long as they want to add more things. So with a for loop, you're not going to be able to know. So I use if, elif, and else statements to determine which method should run. Um, those here, and as well as this one. So for example, if the user chooses 1, the program calls tracker.add_meal. If they choose 2, it calls tracker.add_potty. Same idea continues for the other options. I use if and elif instead of just separate if statements because these menu options are connected and the only like one choice should run at a time. So once Python finds the matching option, it skips the remaining choices. So option 6 is view and save. So it saves the record first, and then you get to view that in your console before quitting the program. And then option 7 saves the record one final time and then prints the goodbye message. So once the user enters 7, the condition choice not equal to 7 becomes false. The while loop ends the program, or the while loop ends and the program stops. And then finally, the last else is in case the user enters an invalid selection. So if they enter anything other than 1 through 7, it's going to display this message, invalid selection, please input a number 1 through 7. And let's run the program. And this is our little display that's almost centered. But yeah, I'm just going to use each thing to show how it works. So let's do 1, which is our meal. What time did your dog eat? Let's say 8 a.m. How many cups of food did your dog eat? I'm going to put 1/2. Meal successfully logged. Great. We can kind of make this a bit bigger now, I'd say. So let's do 2, which is going to be potty. What time did they go potty? Let's say 8:30. Both. It's asking what type. Potty successfully logged. Number 3, nap. What time did your dog fall asleep? 9 a.m. How many minutes? Oh, this is a good time for me to show the try and accept how that works. So let's write 60 as letters instead of a string, I should say, instead of an integer. So here it's going to say, please enter the nap time as a whole number. So let's also do the 0, because I also had that else statement if your nap is 0 or less. And yeah, nap must be greater than 0. So let's actually do it right this time. 9 a.m. How many minutes? Let's just put 60 and nap successfully logged this time. So 4 is for vaccine. Enter the date of vaccination. Let's do this. Enter the type. So let's say it's rabies. And then when does she need that vaccine again? I'm just going to do the same date, but for next year. Vaccine successfully logged. 5, appointment. What date is the appointment? So we'll do today's date. And then what time? 1 p.m. And then state the reason, microchip. So there you go, appointment successfully logged. Please enter the number of the action you want to log. Let's do, since we already did everything, we'll just do number 6. So now that's when it's reading the txt file after we just saved it. It's going to display here all the things in detail, total logs, potty type, and then let's do 7. So record successfully saved, and this is when we can see, let's open up our txt file. And there you go. This should be exactly what we see here. And I believe it is. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that concludes my program. Overall, I used the required concepts. So we have a list within a list, a set, a dictionary, string manipulation, a for loop, a while loop, if, elif, else statements, try, except. I did the methods, file reading and writing, class, import. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in and let me know if you have any questions. Bye-bye.